Welcome back to the channel, folks. Grab your eye and ear protection because today we are taking a hard look at the reality of the current firearms market. If you have been standing on the firing line over the last few years, you know exactly what kind of roller coaster we have been riding. We went from a complete logistical drought where finding a simple box of primers felt like winning the lottery to an absolute flood of surplus inventory. During the peak of the panic, buyers were throwing premium cash at literally any piece of hardware that could successfully cycle around. But the smoke has officially cleared. Distribution centers are packed to the rafters, and the engineering we are seeing roll off the assembly lines today makes the tactical gear from just half a decade ago look like black powder muskets. Because of this massive shift in innovation, we are witnessing a brutal, unforgiving market correction on the resale value of some incredibly popular weapon systems. We are going to put 11 specific firearms on the bench today that have taken an absolute nosedive in trade-in value. Now hear me out. If you have one of these locked in your gun safe, do not panic. A reliable tool is a reliable tool, and your proficiency matters way more than the Blue Book value. But if you are actively looking to upgrade your kit or hit the trade-in counter, you need to be armed with the right intel. Let's get down to business. Number 11. The Savage Axis Gen 1. We are starting at the absolute baseline of the budget bolt-action category. For a very long time, this rifle completely dominated the entry-level hunting sector. If you walked into a sporting goods store with 3 crisp $100 bills, you were walking out the door with a Savage Axis. Here is the reality from an instructor's perspective. Savage absolutely knows how to cut a precision barrel. Those hammer-forged tubes were absolute laser beams out to 200 yards. But everything connecting that barrel to your shoulder felt like it was molded out of recycled Tupperware. The polymer stock lacked any structural rigidity, flexing so heavily under the pressure of a bipod that it would make direct contact with the barrel. Combine that with a notoriously stiff bolt lift and a heavy, gritty trigger that practically forces you to pull your crosshairs off target. Today's shooter simply refuses to tolerate that manual of arms. For a marginal price increase, you can upgrade to the Axis II with the crisp, user-adjustable AccuTrigger, or jump over to a Ruger American that actually offers a rigid chassis. Local pawn shops are drowning in these first-generation models right now. If you are trying to offload one, expect to see offers completely stalled out between $150 and $180. It got a lot of people into the sport, but the industry has aggressively moved on. Number 10. The Heritage Rough Rider. I will admit, I have a deep appreciation for the Heritage Rough Rider. It is a .22 long rifle single-action wheel gun that serves up a massive dose of frontier nostalgia. It gave shooters the ability to run holster drills and feel like an old-school gunfighter for the cost of a cheap dinner. During the supply chain shortages, folks bought these up by the crate just to have something to run at the range that didn't burn through their defensive ammo stockpile. But here is the tactical reality check. Running a single-action loading gate gets incredibly tedious. You index the cylinder, load a cartridge, spin it, and repeat. Then, to clear the weapon, you are forced to manually punch out every single piece of spent brass using the ejector rod. It is a slow, methodical process. Once that initial cowboy novelty fades, most shooters quickly realize they would rather be running a semi-automatic pistol or a modern double-action revolver with a swing-out cylinder. Brand new models are heavily aggressively discounted, sometimes hitting the shelves for a flat $100. Because of that, the used market has completely flatlined. It is a fantastic plinking toy to teach new shooters the fundamentals, but it holds absolutely zero equity. Number 9. The Smith & Wesson M&P Shield Gen 1. This particular drop hurts to talk about because this pistol is an absolute concealed carry legend. When the original M&P Shield hit the defensive market back in 2012, it completely shifted the paradigm for inside-the-waistband carry. It was brilliantly slim, flawlessly reliable, and absorbed recoil like a full-size duty gun. For years, it felt like every single student walking into my CCW classes was carrying a shield. But firearms technology is ruthless, and the single-stack 9mm is now officially an obsolete concept. We have fully entered the golden age of the high-capacity micro-compact. There is simply no tactical justification to carry a 7- or 8-round magazine when platforms like the Shield Plus can pack 13 rounds of 9mm into the exact same physical footprint. Furthermore, Smith & Wesson finally eliminated that mushy, articulated hinge trigger that plagued the original generation. Used gun cases are absolutely overflowing with these Gen 1 models. You can easily pick one up on the secondary market for $240 all day long. It will still save your life in a bad situation, but the modern defensive shooter demands double-digit capacity. Number 8. The Glock 43. Speaking of the capacity debate, let's bring the Glock 43 to the firing line. For years, the defensive community practically begged the engineers in Smyrna to build a dedicated single-stack 9mm. When it finally dropped, it was a massive commercial success, offering that legendary Glock reliability in an ultra-concealable package. But then, the entire geometry of the industry changed overnight. Sig Sauer unleashed the P365, and Springfield Armory countered with the Hellcat. Suddenly, stepping out the door with only 6 rounds in the magazine felt like a massive tactical disadvantage. Yes, you can slap an aftermarket magazine extension on the 43 to gain a few extra rounds. But doing that extends the grip length to the point where it perfectly matches a Glock 19, completely defeating the purpose of a deep concealment primary weapon. The subsequent release of the Glock 43X and the Glock 48 completely cannibalized the original model. Used values have firmly anchored themselves in the $370 to $400 range. It serves beautifully as an ankle gun or a deep cover backup, but as a primary defensive tool, that low round count is a major liability. Number 7. The Springfield XDM Elite. Make no mistake, the Springfield XDM Elite is an absolute workhorse. Right out of the hard case, it delivers one of the most refined, reset-heavy striker-fired triggers in the business. It boasts phenomenal accuracy, aggressive ergonomics, and a massive payload capacity. It was built from the ground up to be a serious, duty-grade weapon system. So why is the street value plummeting? It is incredibly simple. Springfield completely torpedoed their own legacy lineup the moment they released the Echelon. The Echelon introduced a highly advanced, modular, serialized chassis system, conceptually similar to the SIG P320. It drastically lowers the bore axis in the shooter's hand, features a revolutionary variable optic mounting system, and completely eliminated the grip safety, which has always been a point of contention for operators running offhand malfunction drills. The Echelon represents the absolute future of Springfield Armory, instantly turning the XDM line into a piece of legacy hardware. You can easily find gently run models hovering between $380 and $420. It is a staggering amount of capability for the price, but the industry has moved past it. Number 6. The Kel-Tec Sub-2000 Gen 2. The Kel-Tec Sub-2000 is a masterclass in out-of-the-box thinking. A pistol-caliber carbine chambered in 9mm that literally folds in half and feeds from standard Glock magazines? That is the ultimate contingency plan for a vehicle console or a discrete bug-out bag. But the Gen 2 architecture suffered from one fatal, glaring design flaw. To utilize the folding mechanism, you were entirely blocked from running a top-mounted red dot sight. Shooters were forced to invest in complicated, expensive articulating mounts that rarely held a reliable zero after taking a few bumps. Kel-Tec finally resolved this with the Gen 3, implementing a brilliant rotating forend that allows your optic to stay firmly locked in place during transport. Throw the new Smith & Wesson FPC into the ring, which features a side-folding mechanism and a significantly smoother recoil impulse, and the Gen 2 is backed into a serious corner. Let's be brutally honest. The felt recoil generated by that heavy, straight blowback bolt group feels like taking a direct cross to the cheekbone. Used inventory is currently stagnating on dealer shelves, with price tags reading $350 to $400. Number 5. The Ruger AR-556. For the better part of a decade, whenever a student asked me for a recommendation on their very first AR-15, my default answer was the Ruger AR-556. It is a rugged, dependable, direct impingement rifle backed by some of the best customer support in the American firearms industry. But the tactical rifle space evolves at a blistering pace. This specific Ruger ships with a fixed A2-style front sight post, a heavy non-free-floated barrel profile, and standard drop-in polymer handguards. That is straight out of the early 2000X playbook. Today's defensive shooter demands instant modularity. They want full-length, free-floated M-lock handguards to easily secure weapon lights, IR lasers, and barricade stops without having to bolt on aftermarket Picatinny rail sections. Manufacturers like Palmetto State Armory are currently delivering fully modernized, optic-ready rifles for the exact same entry-level price point. The Ruger will absolutely run through the mud and keep firing, but it is built to a standard from a bygone era. Current secondary market prices are struggling to break the $500 ceiling. Number 4. The Mossberg Patriot. Let's get one thing straight. Mossberg builds the most battle-proven pump-action shotgun on the face of the earth, the legendary 590A1. But their attempt at capturing the bolt-action rifle market with the Patriot has been an uphill battle from day one. It was marketed aggressively as a wallet-friendly whitetail hunter, and aesthetically, that spiral-fluted bolt gives it a very premium look. However, once you get behind the glass, the cracks start to show. The bolt throw suffers from a noticeable amount of slop, making rapid follow-up shots feel clunky compared to its direct competitors. The factory synthetic stock is hollow and lacks the internal bracing required to prevent flexing under heavy recoil. With the recent launch of the Ruger American Gen 2, which brings massive upgrades like AICS pattern magazines, vastly improved ergonomics, and factory-threaded barrels for suppressor use, the Patriot has been left completely in the dust. Modern hunters are demanding sub-MOA precision and modularity. If you are attempting to trade in a used Patriot chambered in .30-06 or .270, brace yourself for offers bottoming out around $340. Number 3. The Taurus Judge. From a purely commercial standpoint, the Taurus Judge is a marketing masterstroke. A heavy-duty, 5-shot revolver capable of chambering both .45 long Colt and 410 shot shells? It was pitched to the American public as the absolute ultimate anti-carjacking and home defense tool, and the civilian market bought them by the absolute truckload. But terminal ballistics are a science, and the physics simply do not support the hype. When you force a 410 shot cup down a heavily rifled barrel, the payload catches that rifling and generates a violent centrifugal spin. By the time those pellets travel a mere 7 yards downrange, the pattern has blown open so drastically that you risk completely missing a center mass target with half your column. Furthermore, a 410 birdshot payload drastically lacks the deep tissue penetration required to reliably anchor a determined threat. You are left wielding a massive, heavy chunk of steel with severe muzzle flip and a dangerously low capacity. It is an incredibly fun novelty gun for destroying watermelons on a Sunday afternoon, but serious practitioners of self-defense have completely migrated to high-capacity 9mm platforms. The secondary market is absolutely saturated with these, driving trade-in values down into the $350 to $400 bracket. Number 2. The CZ Scorpion Evo 3. This one genuinely hurts to analyze. A few years ago, the CZ Scorpion was the undisputed apex predator of the civilian pistol caliber carbine world. It featured aggressive styling, highly affordable polymer magazines, and an aftermarket support network that rivaled the AR-15. It was universally hailed as the modern working man's MP5. But 2 massive critical hits completely derailed its momentum. First, CZ dropped the upgraded 3+ variant, overhauling the controls with superior AR-style ergonomics, instantly making the older generation feel like a block of wood. Second, and far more devastating, the tactical community began documenting severe mechanical failures involving soft factory bolts, leading to catastrophic out-of-battery detonations. While the failure rate is statistically low, the sheer violence of an out-of-battery explosion completely shattered consumer confidence. Knowledgeable shooters refuse to invest in a platform that practically requires a $300 aftermarket titanium bolt just to guarantee safety. Factor in the fierce competition from highly advanced, roller-delayed systems like the Grand Power Strybog, and the Scorpion's resale value has utterly collapsed. Heavily upgraded rigs that used to command a massive premium are now struggling to fetch between $800 and $1,000. Number 1. The Marlin 1895. Finally, we arrive at the biggest heartbreaker on the rack. The Marlin 1895, chambered in the devastating 4570 government. Thanks to massive Hollywood exposure in major films and television series, the concept of the modernized tactical lever-action rifle absolutely exploded in popularity. Prices skyrocketed into the stratosphere. But here is the critical trap. During the height of this frenzy, Marlin was operating under the umbrella of the Remington Outdoor Group. These specific production runs, widely known in the gun community as Remlins, became infamous for highly questionable quality control. We are talking about severely canted iron sights, dangerously rough actions, and terrible wood-to-metal fitment. Fast forward to today, Ruger has fully acquired Marlin, and they are currently machining some of the most flawless, reliable lever guns this country has ever seen. Absolutely no one in the tactical space is willing to pay premium collector prices for a sketchy Remington-era rifle when they can secure a brand-new Ruger-built Marlin that cycles like a Swiss watch. On top of that, feeding a 4570 government right now will cost you roughly $3 to $4 every single time you break the trigger. The harsh reality is that after punching through one box of ammo, that rifle usually gets cleaned, oiled, and turned into a permanent safe queen. Used market prices have corrected incredibly hard, slamming back down to a baseline of roughly $1,100. So there is your after-action report, folks. 11 weapon systems that have taken a massive hit in the current secondary market. Let me reiterate my opening statement. If you run one of these platforms, you trust it, and you have put the training reps in, keep running it. Your ability to put rounds on target under stress is infinitely more valuable than a price tag in a display case. But if you are playing the trade-in game to upgrade your defensive posture, you need to know exactly where the chips fall. Drop a comment down in the section below. Have you taken a financial hit trading one of these in, or did you manage to score a massive steal at your local shop? I want to read your field reports. If you gained some solid intel from this breakdown, do me a favor and violently smash that like button. Make sure you are fully subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming tactical deep dives and gear reviews. Until next time, stay safe, watch your six, and keep your powder dry.